Hi guys, I hope you're all well. So I wanted to do a video today talking about things I wish I'd known before I started ultra racing. Before we get into that though, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, make sure to hit the button guys to get way more videos like this and kind of see what antics I get up to on my channel. So number one, I wish someone had told me to stop worrying so much. So before my first ultra race, I worried about everything. Will I get eaten by a bear? Will I get abducted by aliens? Will I run out of food and end up on the side of the road with no one helping me? I worried about everything and it was so silly, you know, and I look back now and think I wish I'd put that energy into actually preparation instead, and I probably would have done a lot better. But hey, you know, I didn't. The more and more I race now, the more I realise that worrying beforehand doesn't really do you any favors. It's good to be conscious, but try not to worry too much. So the second thing is to stop worrying about what everyone else is taking and take what you think you'll need. So my kit lists have been pretty good in the past and quite proud of them, but there's times where I've really overpacked and there's times where I've really underpacked. And this can be a little bit of an issue. It's taken a long time to get to the point of where I know pretty much exactly what I'll need for each race now, and I don't ever seem to get caught out with the things I take, or not so much recently, but it comes from experience. So it's better to kind of overpack, and then when you get to your next race, start taking things out your kit list instead of underpacking and just following what like the guy that won it last year took. That's a really good bit of advice because you don't want to get caught out getting really cold or too warm or carrying too much or not having enough space for water, things like this. So always make your kit always make your kit list on what you think you'll need, not what other people need, and then just adjust it from there on. Number three, I wish I'd studied my routes more. This is something I'm not so good at. I know a lot of racers that will meticulously plan where they're going to stop for food, where they're going to stop at hotels. You know, they're really stringent on how they plan their routes. So if it was me, before a race now, I seem to get a little bit caught up in mapping and things like that. So I like to know where hotels are on the route. I like to know where food stops are. And I also like to know where the big climbs are, so I know what to expect and when to refeed. And that goes a really long way in ultra racing, just to kind of know the terrain and know what you're fighting. And also on top of that, stuff like, I know a lot of races now are going across to gravel. To know the gravel sections, know which ones are tough, know which ones are easy, I think would be really important as well. But the more knowledge you can get beforehand, it'll really pay off later in time. You don't want to get caught in situations where you run out of food and there's nowhere to get any more and you don't know if there's anywhere to get any more and you're just looking at towns and guessing what you can find. But you also don't want to find that you're stopping too much because there's stuff available all the time. It's a really weird thing to do, and it yet again comes from experience, but it's definitely worth taking some time out to really heavily study your route, and it's going to give you a lot of confidence because you're going to know exactly what you're going into. So number four, when you get into your first race and you're smashing it out, try not to look what everyone else is doing so much and just focus on what you're doing. It's really easy to get up and caught out by trying to chase people down or being chased by people. And I think some of the best results I've ever had is when I barely ever checked track leaders. So if you're not sure what track leaders is, it's like a mapping system so you can see the dot watching basically. I have spent way too long looking where everyone else is and just trying to preempt what everyone else is doing when I should have just been getting on riding. And in races like TCR, I completely changed my route halfway, like throughout what I raced anyway, to try and suit what other people were doing because I thought their routes were better. Sometimes it's better just not to focus on anyone else and just think about what you're doing yourself. Because if not, you're wasting your time worrying about someone else's plan. You know, it's just not a good idea. And then if you're quite far behind or you're sleeping too much or you stop too much, you're going to start beating yourself up with that. You never look at the people behind you. You're always looking at the people in front of you. And that's the problem. You're always undervaluing yourself. So my opinion, the less you can look at track leaders, probably the better, especially for the first 2 days of a race anyway. After that, then everyone's kind of settled into their position a bit. So I would recommend probably taking a look then, but for the first 2 days, I'll probably try and ignore it if you can. This advice might help you personally, did help me, but it won't be for everyone. So number 5, guys, enjoy it. And this sounds weird, but I've done quite a few bikepacking races and I've found that I've been so focused on trying to catch the person in front of me and just got lost in the numbers and the times and trying to be as quickly as possible that I haven't really enjoyed things as much as I probably could have done. And I haven't taken in the views. Times where I probably should have stopped to take a picture, I didn't. And because you're not sleeping that much, it's like you don't really bank the memory so much. So one thing I will recommend is, if you're going for first place, then you should just be giving everything, and the least of your worries is the scenery. But if you're middle pack, you know, and you want to stop and talk to someone or, you know, do something, take a photo, make a vlog, you should just do it. You know, it really isn't going to matter if you were, you know, 30th or 32nd. And as weird as that sounds, it is that simple. I look back and think, there's a lot of races I wish I'd taken it a little bit easier and just enjoyed where I was a little bit more, appreciated the views a little bit more, that kind of thing. It's crazy to say that, but that's kind of looking back, probably an unpopular opinion. Now I'm getting a little bit better at what I do. I quite think about the position. I like to challenge myself, especially if I'm going back to races that I've done before, like the race around the Netherlands. But realistically, as weird as this sounds, I look back to the first time I did some of these races and think, you know what, Rob, you probably should have slowed down and taken a picture of that, or, you know, made a few more memories, as weird as that sounds. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. Tell me what other tips you've got for people that have never raced ultra before, which you think they should know.